Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Hawkins, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the woman orator that I chose, which is Mary McLeod Bethune. But first, I'll start off with talking about how I came to choose her as my topic for the speech and what I believe in and how it closely relates to what she believed in as well. I believe that small communities need a public figure and someone to inspire them and uplift them when they don't have a voice to speak on their own. Like when they can't, someone else can. I was born in Washington D.C. and I now live in Riverdale, Maryland. All throughout my childhood, I lived with my grandparents. They lived in Washington, D.C. as well, and that's where I attended school also. I attended school in Washington, D.C. from pre kindergarten all the way up to my junior year of high school. Um, Attending school in DC, it definitely had its ups and downs because in the area, in the schools, they weren't the cleanest. The teachers, they weren't that enthusiastic about giving lessons or anything like that. But overall, I got a wonderful education and I made long-lasting friendships with people I still talk to this day. So like it has its benefits, but it also has its negative negative connotations in a sense as well. Um, these problems like they still exist in schools today, like especially a number one problem that exists in DC public schools is overcrowding of the schools. It's just too many students in one classroom at a time, and I think that prevents the student from getting a solid education that they deserve. Like it prevents the teacher from giving that student that one-on-one more so, like because it's just so many at one time, and it's not the teacher's fault. It's just like there's no one to stand up and fight this problem and just figure out a solution. Like it seems so simple, but it's a growing number in Washington D.C. today. An example of overcrowding in DC in the school system is one school in particular. It holds the title for the most overcrowded school in Washington, D.C., at being 135% over capacity to date, and that is the Stoddard School of Washington, D.C. On their website, it says Stoddard's building was built to contain 320 students, and currently 435 students are enrolled. This is this statement says a lot about how much the higher officials care about the children getting a concrete education. Like this is one of the reasons as why I want to become a teacher. Like I want to help these children. I want to become a role model in their lives. Like I feel as though it's not right for them to not have someone to uplift them and encourage them in a positive way. I have a strong passion for helping children, and my goal is to graduate with a bachelor's degree in English education and then to get a master's degree in arts and teaching. And then I want to teach back home in Washington, D.C. and help the children from that area. I ultimately want to impact the lives of children in a positive and long lasting way. Um, I want to do as much as I possibly can for them. Like last summer, I was lucky enough to get a job. It was like a summer reading program, and I was shocked to see how many students were actually enrolled in summer school. It was a lot, like, and just to imagine the fall semester, like just imagine how many students they have during that term. There were many students that needed extra help on things that weren't covered in the previous session that they didn't get a solid grasp on, mainly because it was just so much at one time. And it's like you either have it or you don't, and that's not the concept that I want to see continue. Like I feel as though it's horrible. I witnessed just how much the students needed guidance in their lives. Really, like they need someone to stand up and take control of this problem. And it keeps getting out of control as the years go by. More and more students are getting enrolled in these schools, and it's just getting overcrowded by the day. So this leads me to discuss that the woman orator that I chose, which is Mary McLeod Bethune. She was a civil rights activist, an educator. She was definitely involved in the school system, and she was an all-around influencer on many people. She served as the president of the National Association of Colored Women. She was definitely all for helping African American women advance in society. She wanted them to have a voice, and she wanted them to have advancement and an equal opportunity. She was also the founder of the National Council of Negro Women. Mary McLeod Bethune, she was born on July 10th, 1875 in Maysville, South Carolina. Mary McLeod Bethune, she was a part of a large family. She was born one of 17 siblings, and both of her parents were former slaves. All of her family, like they worked in the fields, picking cotton and just getting by in the farms. By a young age, she was doing this, and this just goes to show how strong they were as a unit. Bethune, she was the only one out of her family to soar, to get an education, because she was lucky enough to attend a school that a local missionary opened up for African American children. She traveled miles each day, like she walked miles each day to and from school, and what she learned at school, she helped her family with that to give them a better life. Um, she beat the odds and she earned a full scholarship to the Scotia Seminary, which is now known as the Barbara Scotia College, and it is an all-girls school in North Carolina. Bethune graduated from the college in 1893, and she went on to attend Dwight Moody's Institute for Home and Foreign Missions. That school is now considered Moody Bible Institute, and that is located in Chicago. Bethune completed her studies there in less than 2 years, so that just goes to show you how smart and bright she was. After attending that school, she became an educator. She became a teacher. She was definitely an activist for racial advancement, and she believed that receiving a good education was the key to advancement. Like, she believed that getting a good education is what you need to start off with. Like, that is your solid foundation, and that is what will help you advance in society. In 1904, Bethune, she founded the Daytona Normal and Industrial Institute for Negro Girls in Daytona, Florida. She was definitely involved in helping women, like African American women at that. Mary McLeod Bethune, she had a strong faith and determination because she started that school with only 5 girls, and within a matter of years, it turned into 250 students that were enrolled in her school. It just shows you how influential she really was. In 1923, she served as the school's president and emerged together with the Cookman Institute for Men. Then that school became the Bethune-Cookman College. Um, Mary McLeod Bethune, she played an active role in education, but she also played an active role in American society as well. She was a strong activist in her community, and she did all that she could for African Americans as people as a whole. She cared about children's health, and as well as she cared about young people being able to get jobs and secure a solid future for themselves and their families. Um, Mary McLeod Bethune, she became the president of the National Association of Colored Women, and she held that title until 1924, in which she became the national leader of that. She also had a helping hand in the government role as well. She was invited by President Calvin Coolidge to participate in discussing child welfare. She also worked with President Hoover. She served on a commission on home building and home ownership, as well as children's health. When she partnered with Franklin D. Roosevelt, that's when she made her biggest accomplishments. Sorry. In 1935, she founded the National Council of Negro Women, which was her very own civil rights organization. Um, that same year, she she became the director of the Negro Affairs of the National Youth Administration. She helped young adults earn a positive living in their community. Like she made sure that everyone was being attended to, not only African American women but children as well. Um, After leaving the Bethune-Cookman College in 1942, she helped serve as a representative for the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People with the help of W.E.B. Du Bois. Um, that conference involved the helping of founding the United Nations. That just shows you how influential she was demographically, like all throughout. Like people just wanted her presence to be there and her voice to be heard. She was definitely influential in the American society by both being African American and a woman. She broke barriers, definitely. I definitely look up to her as a model orator because she definitely strived to help people who weren't able to reach those higher platforms. She was able to help them in a sense. Before her passing on May 18th, 1955, she penned a quote which I feel is as though it depicts her life. It says, "I leave you a thirst for education. Knowledge is the prime need of the hour." I feel as though this statement is very powerful to me because it's showing you that she feels that education is what's needed, number one, to get anywhere. And without having a solid concrete knowledge, a sense of knowledge, that's the answer in advancing in society, pretty much so. And many people honored her in numerous ways. One way that I found was very remarkable was that the U.S. Park Service, they brought Bethune's headquarters of the National Council of Negro Women. They brought that, and it is now known as the Mary McLeod Bethune Council House National Historic Site. I feel as though she's definitely a model orator to me, and I would have loved to meet her. And I just feel as though I'm going to use her models and her ways of doing things in my daily life. So that's all. Thank you.